All right, moving on to chapter 4. We are going to be spending this entire chapter talking about triangles. And we're going to put two sections together. Today we're going to be doing section 4.1 and 4.2 because most of it is review from previous math classes that you've had. You should be able to know how to identify and classify triangles by their sides and angles. So we'll review that. And then we're going to talk about the angle sum theorem as well as the exterior angle theorem. So go ahead and get started with what we know about a triangle, or what we should know about a triangle. And first of all, triangle, here's our new notation that we're going to be using. It has the vertices of our triangle, so ABC, and then it's got this little triangle that we're using, and that just says we're talking about triangle ABC. So our triangle has three sides to it. It has side AB, it has side BC, and it has side AC. With three sides, it has three vertices, A, B, and C, and it has three angles. So I have angle A, I have angle B, and we have angle C. So that's pretty much everything that we already know about a triangle. New notation that you have not seen before. But then we're going to go into classifying triangles, and you should be able to classify triangles both by its sides and by its angles. When we talk about classifying by its sides, we're talking about the three different types of triangles. Equilateral triangle, where you have three congruent sides. All three sides are the same. Isosceles triangle, where it is at least two sides are congruent. Now, this is a slightly different definition that you might have from your middle school years of math. When it says at least two, that means that you can have two sides are congruent, or actually an equilateral triangle is considered an isosceles triangle. You need to have at least two sides being congruent. And then you have a scalene triangle, which all three sides are of different length. And then you should also be able to classify triangles by its angles. And when we talk about angles, we are talking about an acute triangle, a right triangle, obtuse triangle, and then one that may be new to you is equiangular. An acute triangle is where all angles are less than 90 degrees, which I have up at the top. A right triangle is when you have one angle that measures 90 degrees. And an obtuse triangle is when you have one angle that is greater than 90 degrees. Equiangular triangle is when you have all angles that are equal to each other. So saying that all these angles right here, all three of them have to be the same. And a little side note there, and we'll talk about this later, but an equiangular triangle we will only have if we have an equilateral triangle. So being able to classify a triangle both by its sides and by its angles. That should be review. Now we're going to get into something talking about the angles. And the first thing here is an angle sum theorem, which says that the sum of the angle measures in a triangle is 180 degrees. What this means here is that when we add our three angles together, they have to end up equaling 180 degrees. So we're going to add angle A, angle B, and angle C together, and they're always going to add up to 180 degrees. No matter what triangle you have, the three angles must add up to 180 degrees. So if I go to this example, which you may put it in your notes if you want to, we'll notice here that I have two triangles. And of these two triangles, if I wanted to find the other missing angles, we could do a couple different things. And to do so, I would need to probably start here with this one triangle. I have two of those angles, and now I need to find the third angle. Well, if all three of them add up to 180 degrees, if I take 180 degrees and I subtract 43 degrees and then I subtract 74 degrees, that's going to end up giving me whatever my sum is. So 180 subtract 43 and subtract 74, we end up with 63 degrees. So this angle right here would need to equal 63 degrees. So now I've got everything done on that yellow triangle. Now if I move over to this blue triangle, and I need to figure out how I can find these next two angles. Well, hopefully what you're telling me or you're thinking is, well, that 63 degrees is a vertical angle, and so this angle here has to be 63 degrees. We can assume that. So now I have 63 degrees, I have 79 degrees, and now I can find my third angle. By taking 180, subtract 63, and subtract 79, we're going to end up with our third angle. 180 minus 63 minus 79 gives me 38 degrees. So my angle right here is going to be 38 degrees. So just a way to use our angle sum theorem to find some missing angles. Now let's look at another example here and say we wanted to figure out what this angle is where the question mark is. So I have a triangle, and of this triangle right here, I have two of the three angles. Well, we can find that third angle, so that we can do. And then if I look at where my question mark is, I'm trying to find this angle right here. Well, this angle that we're looking for is supplementary to this interior angle right here. So these two angles have to add up to 180 degrees. So if I can find this third angle, that should help us find out what our exterior angle is over here with our question mark. So I'm going to go ahead and take 180 degrees. I'm going to subtract 45 degrees, and then I'm going to subtract 62 degrees. And that ends up giving us 73 degrees. So here we have an angle of 73 degrees. Now, if this angle here is 73, the green angle that I have here has to be supplementary to that. So if they're supplementary, they add up to 180. So to find our little question mark here, we can take 180, we can subtract 73 from it, and we end up with 107 degrees. And that gives us our green angle. Well, what I'd like you to think about is there another way that we can get 107 degrees? If you look at these numbers that are given here, we can do this in a two-step process, finding the interior angle and subtracting it from 180, or we can do this as a one-step process. And we can add together these two angles, 62 and 45. If we add those together, we get 107. That's another way to come up with this angle. So this is called the exterior angle theorem. Oh goodness sake, sorry, this should be a plus sign right here. The exterior angle theorem says the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles. Now, starting out with what is an exterior angle? Sorry, that's my dog barking. An exterior angle is an angle that's supplementary to one of the angles of your triangle. I know she sounds very vicious, but she's really not. Oh, goodness. All right, I'm going to pause this while I go grab her. All right, so an exterior angle is an angle that's supplementary to an angle of your triangle. So this angle right here with one of our what we call an interior angle here, these two angles have to add up to 180 degrees. Now, the exterior angle sum theorem says that if we take the two remote interior angles, there's three interior angles. The remote interior angles are the ones that are not supplementary to your exterior angle. So these two angles here are the remote interior angles. And so if we add these two together, it's going to end up equaling our exterior angle. Now you have two choices. You can do this in a two-step process, or you can do it in one. So you can find the third angle, subtract it from 180, and do our two-step process, or you can add the two and get the one if you want to. It's up to you. just to kind of visually show you what's going on here. Here's a triangle, and to show you or to prove to you that this exterior angle adds up to these two, if I take these two angles here, I'm going to take this angle here, I'm going to move it there, and then I'm going to take this angle, I'm going to twist it around, and I kind of like fit it right in there as a puzzle piece. So this angle, if I make that angle 1 and this is angle 2, here's where I moved angle 1, here's where I moved angle 2, and so this exterior angle is angles 1 and angle 2 being added together. So there we have reviewed how to classify triangles, and then we talked about the angle sum theorem as well as the exterior angle theorem. So any questions, make sure you let me know.